All right, so I really haven't been making videos as much as I should, but I got a good topic that inspired me to make a video, and I haven't seen any content devoted to what I'm going to talk about. Um, so here we go. And today's topic is going to be iron, metal, cast iron, pig iron, weights, plates versus plastic or plastic cased with cement on the inside plates. Now, first of all, the iron plates, old school plates, if you know what I'm talking about, metal iron plates versus now non metal non iron plates come in different shapes, different sizes, different implements, I guess you would say. You got the hexagonal plates, you got the round plates, but they're bumper plates. And then I mean, I'm not really an expert on it, but long story short, we talk about old school pig iron versus non metal plates and the difference as far as working out using them and how the body develops using them. Now, this is like something I've noticed over the years, and that's that people when you work out, personally from experience, I've gone long periods of time working out with only iron metal plates. I've gone long periods of time working out with really mostly non-metal plates, and I've gone periods of time where you work out with both. I've had workouts where I use both. I might use uh, a plastic bumper plate as the first plate, and I might use metal plates after that. The differences. It's kind of hard to quantify the difference between using metal iron plates and using non-iron plates unless you've done it and you've been around people who do it. It's it starts with the mentality. When you work out, you are seeking to force your body to adapt. You are using the weights as a stimulus to adapt. So first of all, mentally, if you working out in an old school gym where everything is iron, everything is metal, everything is pig iron, you got metal cages, obviously metal bars, metal plates. The machines are mostly metal. It's some rust. You're mentally going to be in a different place. When I train people and I train them in a gym that is everything is metal versus everything is not metal, I instruct people differently. I tell people first and foremost, you are in an old school metal gym. You can hurt yourself just walking around this motherfucker. If you trip on something, if you brush against something the wrong way, if your shoulder grazes something, if you drop a plate on your foot, it is going to feel different. That's kind of where I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with the intangible aspects of it. You're putting yourself in a different, more dangerous environment. So your body, your mind first, and then your body is going to adapt differently. If that makes sense, that'll make sense to people who really work out, who are about this life. Your body is going to, your mind is going to be in a different place if you're in a everything is metal gym. You're in a heavy metal environment. It's gnarly, it's rugged, it's rough, it's dangerous. It can hurt you. So you should mentally be in a different place if you are working out in the gym where everything is metal. That's for starters. Now let's think about it from a common sense standpoint. 45-pound plates. Would you rather drop a 45-pound metal plate on your foot or a 45-pound bumper plate on your foot? Think about it. I mean, they both weigh 45 pounds, obviously. Let's say they're both calibrated perfectly. They're both 45 pounds. Would you rather drop a 45-pound pig iron plate on your foot or a 45-pound bumper plate? Ask yourself that question. Now, with that being understood, it's 45 pounds, 45 pounds. Now, if you pick a 45-pound plate up and you drop that mug on the ground, just drop it, let it free fall. Versus if you pick a rubbery non-metal plate up and you drop it on the ground. Notice the difference. Notice the thud. Notice the violence. That's the first intangible aspect of working out with metal weights. Metal is just harder. It's harder. It feels harder. So this is we still in the intangible. It's thinking about how them plates is going to hit the ground, how they going to sound. It's a different situation with that metal. That metal is harder than you. That metal is harder than your bone. That rubber ain't harder than you, and you know it, you feel it. Let's say you're doing some deadlifts, some moderately heavy deadlifts, 315, 405. If you have a bunch of rubber plates on there, I'm talking full range of motion, touching the ground deadlifts, not RDLs. It's a different process with metal plates. With rubber plates, every time you contact the ground, it's not going to feel the same as with metal plates. Metal plates jolt your body. You feel them in your bones. When you lift all metal, you feel it in your bones. It feels different. Now, we're going to kind of transition to some tangible reasons why. But that metal feels different. When you're bench pressing and you got all metal on that bar, just try it. It feels different than when you're using non-metal weights. Some of that has to do with the actual dimensions of the weights, and that's going to change the dimensions and the physics of the bar. Some of it has to do with the actual physical constitution of the weights and how it responds to motion and different forces being applied against it. As we just said, if you're deadlifting off of the ground using all metal weights, I would even tell a person or a client or whoever, it's a different mental process. If you're using all metal weights, you don't want to do a lot of heavy, high rep deadlifts off the ground. If you're using metal weights and you're doing 405 for 8 or 6 or 10, like me, every time you contact that ground with metal weights, it's going to have a different effect on your body and your nervous system. And you actually need to be careful because it is more debilitating and jarring to the body using metal weights as opposed to the plastic weights. When they contact the ground, they're probably going to absorb more of the energy, if that makes sense. And not only that, you get more bounce back from those plastic plates. When they hit the ground, they're going to bounce back differently. The metal plates is going to hit the ground, and the force that you apply to the plates when you lift it and when they hit the ground, it's going to go through you. With the plastic plates, the force that you apply to the plates when they hit the ground is going to rebound, and it's going to give you a little bit more bounce. Just think about that. Going back to what I said with dropping a plastic plate on your foot or a metal plate. You'd rather drop a plastic plate on your foot, I guarantee you that. Especially if you got a decent pair of sneakers on, the sneakers might absorb most of it. That metal plate, man, that thing is sharp, that thing is nasty, that thing is rough, rugged, and gnarly. You know what I mean? It's harder than your bone. The rubber is not harder than your bone. And you'll feel that when you contact the ground. Or like when you squat with rubber plates, it's easier than metal plates because the way the force and the power, and I'm not a physicist, is transferred from your body through the ground, through the bar, through the plates is different because the density, the molecular structure of the plates is different. It'll be less bounce with metal plates. The weight is more dead when you use metal plates, and more of that force goes through your body with metal plates. With the rubber plates, the force is exerted out, it's not going through your body. Now, tangibly, bar whip. Bar whip is the way when, especially when you lift in decent weight, is the way that the bar will move and will kind of bounce with the weight that you use. With rubber plates, you're going to get more bar whip, which means the weight is going to, now it's the upside and the downside to that. Meaning the bar is going to whip more, so you have to control it. But with metal plates, your body is going to be receiving that jolt of energy, and your bones is going to rattle a little bit. You do a heavy squat with 3 metal plates or 4 metal plates versus one With plastic plates, you will feel the difference. Not only that, once you're under that weight, you're going to be feeling and thinking, I got 400 pounds of steel on my back. Not 45 pounds of steel and 270 pounds, 270 pounds of plastic. Is different. It feels different. And when we work out, we seek to adapt to the stimulus that we put on our body. So if that stimulus is metal, it's going to be a different adaptation. You also have to take a different set of precautions as far as how you handle the weights, how you move through the gym, and even with the exercises you're doing. As I said, I wouldn't advise somebody deadlift a heavy weight, twice their body weight off the ground, contacting the ground with metal weights a lot. You shouldn't do it a lot because it will rattle your bones. It will rattle your bones. You try it. That four plastic weights is not gonna. It's gonna be a little bit more bounce. Less of the force is going to be exerted through your body. It's going to be less bone jarring. Now this leads to what kind of physique is developed respectively with plastic weights versus metal weights. This is my observation, and it's kind of an inference. And me, like I said, most of my journey, my fitness journey, my weightlifting career, whatever you want to call it, I've used metal weights. Metal weights develop, in my observations and inferences, a denser, more rugged, rougher, gnarly muscle. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way you have to control them when you use them. When you use metal weights, it's another level of control you have to have, keeping in mind that they are harder than your body. So your stabilization and your mental approach, and where the mind goes, the body follows. It's going to be different with using metal weights versus using plastic weights. So when you look at many of the physiques over time that have been developed, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the great physiques that we look at and we marvel at, and they have an element beyond the size and the leanness and the detail, are physiques that was developed using metal weights. It's similar to the difference between using free weights and using machines. It's just another level of badassness when you use metal weights. So you will have more of a badass physique. When you look at Ronnie Coleman versus Phil Heath, in my opinion, non-metal weights allow you to generate a little bit more of a pump, because the muscle is more so focused on moving the weight through space in an efficient way. The metal weights give you a rugged gnarliness. They give you scars, literal scars. You work out in the gym where everything is metal, you're going to have scars. You're going to slam your fingers in between two plates, and you're going to lose a little chunk of finger here and there putting the dumbbells back in a rack. And it's going to, first of all, mentally have you more alert. Thinking about gels. Most of these gels, they're using pig iron. That's why these guys look how they look. They're using old school pig iron. And then apparently metal iron, when it oxidates, it can actually weigh more because of the chemical reaction to the water, H2O, and the oxygen. And with the metal plates, it'll make the metal weigh a little bit more over time. But even disregarding that, because a lot of time these plates chip and things like that. But even disregarding that, you look at the rough, rugged, gnarly physiques where you just looking at it and you just see the muscle, and it's like, that's badass muscle. It's almost always people who work out with metal weights. Arnold called it pumping iron. He didn't call it pumping plastic. He didn't call it pumping sand or cement, which is what most of these non-metal weights are filled with. He called it pumping iron. It's something different about going to the gym and moving a bunch of iron around. Weight is not weight. Going back to my original point, if I gave you the choice between, I said, look, I'm going to give you $1,000 but you got to drop a 45-pound plate right on your foot with a sock with a pair of socks on. Would you rather that 45-pound plate be an iron boy, a pig iron plate, or would you rather that 45-pound plate be a CrossFit bumper plate? I'd rather be a CrossFit bumper plate because the weight is going to rebound and impact, and the force is going to be distributed on my foot is going to be different. You know what I'm saying? So getting back to the type of physique you can form, even me, I'm 100% natural. Never even used BC, never used creatine or pre-workout. I only weigh 170 pounds, but if you look at my physique, it has that ruggedness to it. It looks like I'm bigger than I am because the way my physique is developed, not just proportionally, but just the denseness, the thickness, where you want the thickness, the gnarliness, the ruggedness is different. Plastic weights will now they can give you more, in my opinion, from what I see, more because your body and your mind is gonna be focused more on the rep and everything like that. They give you can get more of a pump out of them, if that makes sense. Also, sometimes if you look at, even not all metal weights is the same, as far as when you got the metal weights or the dumbbells that have a metal handle, and then it's weights basically screwed on each side. It might be 220s and a 5 on each side, or 210s and a 5 on each side, versus the cast iron solid weights. Just the fact that those pups are a little wider and the way the weight is distributed affects your ability to lift it. The dimensions of the weights affects your ability to lift it. We're talking physics now, so there's going to be a slight percentage difference based on just the dimensions of the weights. And so when you look at, the rubber weights, the ones that are hexagonal, if you do a heavy squat with 3-4 plates on them, look how they move. They rotate while you move up and down more than metal weights, which kind of just sit there dead. They don't rotate as you're moving through space with them. Start paying attention to that. That has to have a different physical effect on the body because of the way the force is being transferred. It's being transferred and distributed more through the weights than through your body. And so when you use the metal weights, the way that energy is transferred and distributed through your body, it gives you a different type of strength, a different type of physique. And I say, look at examples like Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman. Look at the old school bodybuilders versus look at the guys like the Phil Heaths, a lot of the guys who may even train with Hani Rambach, or the guys who train with Charles Glass, who use more machines, more plate loaded. When they are using plates, they're probably using plastic plates. They're training in different environments. Even looking at somebody like Big Ramy. Big Ramy is working out in an oxygen gym. He has the size, he has the shape. He doesn't have that gnarly ruggedness to his muscle where not only is that muscle large as far as dimensionality and puffy, but you can look at it and be like, that muscle is through and through built for survival, preservation of life, and devastation. It's not the same. Metal weights, I'm not going to say they're better. I'm going to say they're superior in many regards. As far as recovery, plastic weights are better. You can recover from workouts using plastic weights better. And I dare anybody, if you're using plastic weights, go to a gym where everything is metal and see what them weights feel like. And if you're using metal weights, go to a gym where everything is plastic and see what everything feels like. It's not about the heaviness, because I've worked out at gyms where everything is metal, and then went to gyms where everything is more so plastic. And sometimes the weights feel heavier, but they feel different. And you can adjust and adapt to them in a quicker amount of time. So this is something I haven't seen addressed on YouTube, which is rare. Sometimes you got the videos with people talking stuff on CrossFit plates, saying CrossFit plates are for, female cats, if you know what I'm saying. But you don't really see people explaining the difference in the physique that you create using metal plates, and the differences in training in metal plates, or training in an environment where everything is metal, from a mental standpoint, from a somewhat tangible standpoint, from a cognitive standpoint. So I just wanted to address that. And I would advise anybody, if you want that rugged, rough, gnarly, dense physique that has another level to it, You know what I mean? Like those old school physiques, or some of the even great, more modern physiques that we've seen, like the Ronnies and the Dorian Yates, and even Jay Cutler, or especially somebody like Branch Warren or Johnny Jackson. When you look at the quality of their muscle, use metal weights.